turn. We make mistakes, then we live and learn. When life gets tough, and it seems like your best ain't good enough. If you're in need of hope, you know where I'll be. I'll be right here, right here. And when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here, waiting for you.
This is the place you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening and viewing friend. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful, best day ever. And for those of you who are tuning to the classroom for the first time, please know I've been waiting for you. This is a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide natural ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening, as well as my viewing friend, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Now, there are times in my life when I feel God is calling me. I just know it. There are times where that knowing converts into change needs to happen. At that time, I quiet down. Something happens to my body where no different than a deer drinking water in a river, and all of a sudden they get this feeling that something's going to happen. And you see the deer in these nature documentaries, and then all of a sudden they look and they go. They don't ask, oh, should I stay? Should I go? What should I do? What should I do? I don't know what to do. They follow their intuition. It's that voice of God that they hear. And it's not out of fear. It's out of a knowing that God will prompt us at that time. Even the lilies of the fields and the sparrows, God prompts them too. And so when I get to that feeling where I can almost hear God speak to me, whether it's audibly, where someone is speaking to me, or I hear a voice, whether it's in my head or it's out loud, I can't distinguish them. For example, there was a time where I heard the voice, don't go down the stairs. I was running late, and I decided that I needed to go because I needed to be on time, and I had a load in my hands, and I heard the voice again. Do not take off your shoes. Take off your shoes is what I heard. Take off your shoes. And I ignored that voice because I had a commitment that was more important than that voice. And so I justified, well, if I take off my shoes, then I have to bring this load down, come up. And I had this voice, this discussion with that voice. And so I said, I'm just going to go down the stairs with my shoes on. And the next thing I know, I was in the bottom of the stairs. I had finished my fall with my nose hitting the windowsill and everything crashing around. The table crashed. I thought I had gone through the glass. I did not even know what had happened to me. I sat there in a daze with my dress over my head, not feeling a thing. I mean, I went down and I felt when the back of my head got hit. I felt when my shoulder got hit. I felt when my knee got hit as I was tumbling like a weed down the stairs, the wooden stairs, by the way. There's no cushion here. That was a lesson for me. And I survived that lesson. And I was told by the radiologist, I worked for the company, that the radiologist that read my x-ray when I was taken to the ER, the radiologist came in to see me. He knew me, and he said, Lily, I saw your x-rays and I heard what happened. You should be dead. But I wasn't dead. God wasn't done with me. And you know what? That was the last time I ignored my intuition. Our intuition is the voice of God. Our intuition speaks to us but it's not the intuition or the voice that is, oh, I'm scared. What if I do this? What if I failed? Not that voice, because with God, all things are possible. It is the voice that says, stop what you're doing and move. Like the deer drinking. And you see these documentaries, and all of a sudden, the deer just leaps away, doesn't question it, just does it. Next scene, you see the lion coming in, prancing for their prey, and the deer's gone. That's how God speaks to me. And I know that's how God speaks to all of us, because I know God is not just in me, God is everywhere. That means that God is in you. And if I and you had a speck of God's power in you, what can't you do? You can do all things, right? If we believe God's word, then we believe that it is true for us too. So with that in mind, I want to let you know that I started feeling like something needed to change in the classroom. Something needed to change in my life. And I think that, and by the way, if you haven't figured it out already, I'm your guest teacher today, and and since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am honored to share what God has been speaking to me about. And I believe it started before my mother fell. My mother fell and fractured her hip. And I live about an hour and 15 minutes, depending on traffic, could be more, away from where she was at. And I would have loved to have been by her side, helping her out and been there. But because of time and commitment, I could work around my schedule, but I could only be there like certain times to relieve my sister, who did a lot more than I did, my brother, who was there too. And so that kind of started my desire to, I need to own my own time, or I need to be ready to do other things. And then other things were presented. And that's how God speaks to you. Other things show up all of a sudden in your life, things that you never saw before that were always there, but all of a sudden they are out of your field of neglect. Now they're in your field. And you get to see it. No different than when you like a car and you're thinking about buying that car and you've never seen that car before, and all of a sudden you see the car everywhere. That's how we work. That's how God works through us when we are open to answer the call. And so I feel like I'm being called, and I question you, and I want to ask you the question, not question you, but I want to ask you the question. How does God speak to you? How do you know? How do you know that God wants you to do something, or is it your ego, or it is your sense of pleasing everybody? Where is your yes coming from? Is your intuition kicking in and you're going, I know this is from God, but in the meantime, you're saying, but not me, God, pick that person, like Moses did. Don't, yeah, you're calling me, but let me take Aaron for me. Let me take somebody else. And that is one of the things that, between my mom falling and seeing the world and how the media is imposing or infusing into our children's lives. Many of the kids that I know today are growing up without God, without knowing about God. And true story. If I tell you I'm making up this story, I'll tell you, but this is a true story. I will tell you that this was like a loud, I heard God. So I've mentioned to you before that I graduated from, or completed, Bible study fellowship. I did it at a time where I needed God more than I knew I needed God. And I don't feel God needs me, but I need God. And God is always there, faithful, waiting for me to say yes. And finally, my sister had invited me to this Bible study fellowship, and for 3 years. And I remember when she finally, after the 3rd year of inviting me, always be invitation. That doesn't mean somebody has to show up. And after the 3rd year, I was going through so much in my life. And I remember saying yes to my sister to going to open house to Bible study fellowship. And I remember her hearing a no and saying, I understand that you can't go. I know you're busy. You have 5 kids, blah, 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 all that. And I said, no, Asia, I said, I'm going. But I could not make a commitment to 7 years, but I made a commitment to 1 day at a time, 1 week at a time, 1 year at a time. 7 years later, I finished the course. Sometimes we need to trick our brain that is fearful of commitment, fearful of speaking out, of fearful of I'm not enough, of fearful. We need to trick our brain and say, okay, I may not be able to climb the mountain. Although I said yes to climbing a mountain, I'm going to go hiking with somebody. This is a true story too. And I remember saying yes to that. Well, I'd never hiked anything. I'd never, camped out anywhere. And this was like getting me outside of the comfort zone. But somehow I said yes. I said yes. But I trusted that yes. And so what did I do? I didn't climb the top of the mountain the next day. No, I looked for the best hiking boots, because that's how sometimes we take small steps. And we take that small step, one step at a time. When I showed up at the hill of the mountain, I wasn't at the top, I was at the bottom. And I remember, 1 hour into it, looking back, another hour into it, looking back, and seeing, wow, look how far we've come, one step at a time. And that's how God works through us. We immediately, our mind, our ego, whatever it is that we want to call it, goes to the end and the end solution. That's why we don't get pregnant and have the baby the next day. It takes 9 months. God knows what God is doing. And all we need to do is say yes and trust that God will give us whatever we need, when we need it, at the moment we need it, to complete the task. When your yes is greater than your fear, God is there, and God will complete whatever that is if you continue showing up. So the realization that my time wasn't my time anymore, and realizing that I work live the middle of the day, and then there's pre-work and post-work, and there's preparation, and there's invitations, and there's so many things that need to be done. And all of a sudden, as I'm thinking, God, I wish I could be there for my mom more. I wish I could do this. And all of a sudden, what hit me is I'm sitting in, I'm looking at the children that are growing up without God and not knowing, and then the system telling them, confusing things that they're telling is true, very confusing. And all of a sudden in my heart was, you need to bring more classes about God, about godliness, and about the true nature of God. And I'm sitting in, I have a group of friends that I absolutely adore, and we come together every other week to talk about God, the women of the Bible, a particular character in the Bible, and we just sit around, we talk about how it merges with our life and how it works, and it's a wonderful group. And I just started it this last year, and someone said, when we started this Bible study, I thought this was going to be more of a study where you open the Bible, you answer questions, and all of a sudden, of all the years of graduating or finishing, completing Bible study fellowship, for the first time, I decided, well, to answer her and to answer kind of like my yearning that I felt that God was like prompting me, I researched what's the closest BSF from Brevard County, in Brevard County. And there was a Bible study opening in the fall. There is a Bible study opening in the fall. Originally, I read that it was on a Monday. Great. I don't have the class on the Monday. I don't have the, yes, I do a lot of things on Mondays, but I have the flexibility to go to this. Then when I looked again, it was Thursday. And Thursday, as you know, is the third day of the week that we do a live class. But there was something that kept drawing me and drawing me. And the next thing, and this is part of the changes that I needed to make, that I get to make, because God is preparing me for something else. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like. And that's another thing with God. When you're dealing with God, don't be married to the outcome, because you'll be surprised that what I think is what God wants may not be exactly what God wants. And so I don't care. I signed up for the Bible study fellowship that starts in the fall, this fall, 2023. I don't know what day, but I know it's a Thursday. And that's once a month we have Dr. Jennifer Grammett, and every week we have a teacher on a Thursday. How am I going to make it back? How am I going to make it back? When all of a sudden, God spoke to me in the way that God speaks to all of us, with a thought, with an idea, with whatever. And so moving forward, instead of having live classes Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays, I'm going to take 2 to 3 days out of my week, and I'm going to pre-record classes, and then we're going to air them and premiere them. I know that many of you love to come on board, love to come and make comments, and you still can do that. But whatever God is preparing me for, I need to have the time available. Instead of Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday live here and be with you, I'll still be with you, but it's going to be a premiere, never seen before, and it'll air just exactly as if I were live. And I hope and I pray that you will be excited for me, because I really don't know. When I tell you I don't know, I have an idea, but I'm not married to the idea. And so when God speaks to you, how does it feel? How does it sound? How does it take you to that next step? Do you trust that God's going to give you exactly what you need? Because God doesn't call the equipped. God equips the called. And I couldn't do half of the stuff. Oh gosh, I'm being too arrogant. I can't do anything without God prompting me or being by my side or helping me in everything I do. And this is what people don't understand. I'm shy. I could use that for the rest of my life to keep myself from not doing what I need to do. I grew up very shy. You would look at me and I'd start crying. That is not what God intended for me. And there's a knowing that you must have that tells us that we must trust. There's a knowing, and this, that if you think that things are going to flop, things will flop. If you think that things will be great, they will be great. They may not look exactly as you thought they would, but they will be great. Because if that is what God wants you to do, then no matter what, it will have meaning and purpose. And so if you look crazy doing it in the process, or if you're not as graceful as you're doing it in the process, that's okay too. That's part of the process, is to learn and grow. And many people say, I'm so afraid. I'm afraid of taking this step. I'm afraid of doing that. Yeah, and there may be fear, because if we're going to do it alone, then that's crazy, right? But if God is with you and you know God will tell you what to say, God will prompt your heart, and you are truly in that inspired in spirit, if you are in spirit and you know that God is there to help you, then you can do all things because Christ is in you. God is in you. So when God speaks, first, it's an awareness. I like that car, or I like this, and then all of a sudden you see all the same things. I mentioned this, so I'm like recapping. And there's a thought where, did you ever think that maybe you can pre-record the classes and you have free time? Where can I get my time? Well, we all have the time. How are we going to manage our time? That's the question. Now, I'm still going to do the 3 classes. I might even do 6 in 1 week. But then I can air them at a different time. That way I have my time available to do what God is calling me to do. What does that look like? I don't know. I think I know, but I don't know. I just know what the outcome needs to be. And it usually, for me, it happens in 3s. First it was my mom, then it was, this yearning that I need to have more time. I like if I'm doing the class and I want to drive all the way to see my mom or my dad or my siblings or whatever, it's an hour and a half. So if I'm done with post-production, I can't be anywhere before 3 o'clock. I can't do lunches. I can't do speaking engagements. I can't do any of those things. But now with the time, so look for those threes. Somebody might tell you, hey, have you ever thought of writing a book? Or, oh, have you ever thought of doing a speaking engagement? Or have you decided that you would like to do this workshop or this seminar or, get certified in something? If your yes is greater than your fear, then God will show you what it is you need to do. Once your yes is greater than your fear, something happens that opens up, what is it called? Opportunity, possibility, or both? What is it? Mostly, it's curiosity. When you are curious about what and how God is going to use you, life is different. So between the godlessness in the world that I'm seeing, especially with our children not knowing the word of God, you have my commitment that as we start redesigning every year, this is our 12th year in the classroom. The Lillian McDermott radio show that started the Lillian McDermott radio show, and now it's a classroom because this is where we learn and grow together. And so as we prepare ourselves, and every year there was like, God was like, okay, this needs to change, this needs to change, this needs to change. And we've made some changes. So this is the newest change. You still have the 3 classes a week. It's just my time is being distributed differently. I'm still doing all the prepping. I'm still doing the post-production. I'm still doing all these. We're still broadcasting as if it were live. But now God is going to use that time for something else. Is it to finish my book? Who knows? Maybe, because I am been reignited. As I talk to you about the ego, and God is speaking to me about the ego and what it looks like and how we can work with it. And so stay tuned for that. Also, I don't know how it's going to happen or when it's going to happen, but I know that God is going to send me a wonderful PR firm. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I know it will. And so I am putting it out there into the universe that a PR firm is needed for our class to grow, especially since the information that we're sharing in the classroom is being censored. You heard Dr. Thomas Levy talk about magnesium yesterday. And last year, he's been talking about all these wonderful things about health and wellness that's natural, and it doesn't cost that much. Many of us, and by the way, I don't know if you remember this, but Dr. Lee Cowden, he said I think it was 87% of all people who have heart attacks or strokes are deficient in magnesium. So we're going to be talking about, we talked about that yesterday. So I hope that you watch that class. If you haven't seen that class, check it out with Dr. Thomas Levy. So circumstances in your life calling you to make a change? Are you fearful of making that change? If you are fearful, that is not intuition. That is not the voice of God. That is the voice of the deceiver, keeping you small, keeping you from doing whatever it is that you need to do. Whether it's something as simple as forgiveness. Maybe that is what's holding you back. Maybe it's simple as you fear you're not enough. Who thinks they're enough? Not many of us, but with God we are, right? Alone we are nothing, but with God we are an overwhelming majority. So what is going on in your life? Because if something is going on in my life, I'm not that unique. I know that there's decisions that need to be made. What is keeping you from making that decision? When God is speaking to you, it's very important that we listen. We stop and listen. So I know God is calling me. I don't know what or where or when. And like I said, I think I know, but I'm not married to the outcome. So that's number one. When you know it, and you know that God is going to give you what you need to do, you just embrace yourself and say, okay, God. Well, when I say embrace yourself, I always say God is in me. That's when I say embrace myself. But what I'm saying is just take the hand of your creator, right? That's the first thing. So whether you call that praying or a desire in your heart or even frustration about a problem, you say, I can't believe this. Like, for example, our children, our churches. I just said this today to a friend. Our churches are full of sick people. Why are churches full of sick people when God is life? And I know we all get sick. We all get sick. But at what level do we change our lifestyles? Do we change what we need to do so that our lives can be in flow and in tune with what God wants for us? God doesn't want us to be sick, but sometimes our thought makes us sick. First it's a thought, then it's a feeling, and then it's an action. If the thought is God is calling me, but I am not enough, and the thought is I'm not worthy, I'm paralyzed, I can't believe I'm being called to do this, whatever it is, that first thought is crucial. So if that first thought is God is calling me, oh, but I'm not enough, then that's not the voice of your intuition. If you're saying God is calling me, and I know that I'm going to say yes to this, not because I want to look good, or not because I must serve the church, or I must do it, or I have to do it, then that's not the voice of God either. This is a thought that without a doubt, you know. And even if you don't know, you know that eventually you'll know. And even if you are wrong and you say, well, I really don't know if God is calling me, but I'm just feeling this urge, and you go forward, even if it's a failure, a flop, whatever you call it, it's still part of your journey, and it's still part of the process, and it's still valuable. So that first thought is, whatever God has in store, we're going to do this together, and it's going to be great. So that's that excitement that comes from it's going to be great. Then it's a feeling. When you feel great, aren't you willing to do more than if you just felt miserable all the time? Depressed, anxious, anxiety? That's not from God either. That's the deceiver. Those are thoughts of the deceiver. And then all of a sudden, if the second thought is a feeling, first is a thought, then it's a feeling, and you feel great about it, and you know that even if it's a mistake, it's part of your journey, it's part of the process, and you're going to learn such great things from it. What to do and what not to do. And then the third, it's an action. So when you are thinking positive and you're feeling positive, you're going to act positive, and you're going to do things, and you're going to listen, and you're going to be curious. And then all of a sudden, the things that you thought that you were being called to, you'll be curious enough to say, well, if this isn't working out, let's turn this way. Let's turn to the right. Let's turn to the left. Let's go forward. Listen to the call. So that desire and that frustration, pray to God about it. Bring it to the altar. And that I'm not talking about a physical altar. It's that altar, that safe space that you create for God. Take it there, whether it's journaling, whether it's, education, doing whatever it takes to get to that place. Do it. But first, take it to God in prayer. Ask God to speak to you, especially in journaling. I love to journal. And for those of you who like to journal, just write. Don't make it perfect. Just write it down. And God, you will somewhere along the way extrapolate some of what God is saying in that journaling. Don't edit. Don't do anything. Just dump it all out. Because sometimes when we get out of the way, God, you can hear the voice of God. So be quiet and listen. So you can go to the Bible. You can go to God directly. You can go to godly people, or you can even read a book that is spirit-filled, that may be the direction that you feel that you need to go in. And write it down, be open. I have to tell you, there was a time they thought my mom was going to have a heart attack. I was probably in my 30s at the time. And my dad brought her to the ER, and then they put her in a room. Her blood pressure was really high. She also had diabetes. She had other conditions. And I remember looking at my mom's arm, and she had, like, it looked like they were doing like a IV. There was like the IV needle was in her arm, but there was nothing attached to it. She wasn't getting any nutrients. She wasn't getting any water. It was just there. And so I called the nurse and I said, my mom's not hooked up to her IV. And she said, oh, no, she has an open vein. And I went, an open vein? Well, if anything happens, we have already done the needle. That's the hard part, getting that ready. And all we have to do is put in whatever meds, whatever it is that she needs. And it's called an open vein. That image has remained with me forever. And I thought at that moment, we need to be open veins. We need to be open to whatever it is that needs to pour into us. And so when you're doing that, you will get confirmation. You will trust the process. This is how it works. It works for me this way. It might work differently for you. But the ultimate goal is to feel that God is either telling you, go this way, go that way, go forward. Then you will find confirmation. Is this what you want from me? Just ask, and you shall receive. And then we get to take action, and we know we're going to be successful, because that's what God does. There's nothing written about God that had anything to do with failure. Even the crucifixion was an unbelievable success. Yes, we saw it, and yes, it was horrible, but not in God's eyes. This was an unbelievable success, but it was also part of the process. The pain was part of the process. And we will all, one point in our life or another, we will go through pain. And we will be called to do things that you never thought you would do. Such as a program where you get to speak. If you would have told me 12 years ago that I would be, actually, no, if you would have told me 13 years ago that I would be the crazy lady in the corner talking about natural health and how to, reverse asthma and reverse diabetes and reverse cancer and all these things naturally, that be the natural way to go first before you try allopathic route, I would have said, no way. I was critical of the person I am today. And I get it. Those of you who are critical of who I am today, that's fine. I'm not here to please you. I'm here to please God and myself and my family. And if you let those people stop you for doing what you need to do, that's also not of God. So there's so many different ways that God interweaves the scent, the yarn, whatever it is that God does in your life. And if you're having problems today with me using the word God or Jesus, then let's translate it to love, because God is love. And I think we could all speak from a language of love. And that, when you are making choices and decisions based out of love, that is God. That is all God. But if there's something for you to get, or if somebody loses because you want to win, that is not of God. We can figure out ways to win, all of us to win. So whether it's for me to do public speaking engagements, or if I need to finish my book, which I know God is calling me to finish my book, whether it's whatever it is, I've said yes. And as a result, first it's the thought, then it's the feeling, then it's the action. So first it's the thought that things need to be changed. And there's the, yes, I am going to do it. And that's the feeling of hope. And then the action is what I'm telling you, that we are now going to change the way the class is aired and broadcasted. So with that in mind, you have to know that I am excited about Super Gut. Super Gut is next week. We start August 1st. So if you're having problems with your gut, if you're having problems with your health, if you're having problems with depression, anxiety, it could be that your gut signals are sending the information that's making you depressed. They're like terrorists in your stomach, those little microbiomes, the microbes in your stomach, they're like terrorists just making demands on you, like, you know, you need to do this, you need to do that, and you need to drink too much or eat too much or be tired all the time. If we change the microbiome, if we change the way that what we bring into our body, then that's going to also be changes in your body that you will see that will produce much fruit. So we're going to be doing the Super Gut, and I'm grateful to our partners, Lavelli with the yogurt maker. We have one to give away on August 1st, the first night of our course. And then we also have, and you can click on my Shop Now bag, by the way, and get the Lavelli yogurt maker so that you can make your yogurt for the microbiome, Super Gut microbiome yogurt that we're going to be making. And then also I'm grateful to Food Marble, because Food Marble is just a wonderful tool to measure what is coming out of your mouth, what is coming out of your gut when you're eating certain foods, or do you have SIBO, do you have SIFO, whatever it is. I'm grateful to Food Marble. And by the way, if you go to the Shop Now bag, you can get your own digestive breath tester Air 2 for 15% off. So go there. I negotiated that deal for you guys. So take advantage of it. Bottom line, go to whenyouneedafriend.com. And while you're there, please subscribe, like, and follow me on all social media. And make sure that you share this video with your friends, because as you know, the algorithms are keeping this information from you. So the best way that you can help is by clicking and liking and subscribing and doing all those things, sharing with your friends so that this information can get out. If you don't do anything, then nothing happens. But we are much greater than the algorithms. We are the 99%. And if we all stick together without division and calling names and making you feel less than, then we will be much greater than the algorithms and the 1%. So once you go to whenyouneedafriend.com, there are 2 pop-ups. And the first one is the top one is the Super Gut pop-up. Starts 6-week course to improve our health, improve our microbiome, increase our health. And for those of you who want to release weight, you might get to do that as well. It's a 6-week course with Dr. William Davis. He is the author of the Wheat Belly series. He's also the author of Undoctored and Super Gut. And he's amazing. Check out some of his classes. You can go to that pop-up and click on it, and you can see some of the classes that he's been on in the classroom. And then Dr. Bradley Nelson. Dr. Bradley Nelson of the Emotion Code and Body Code, coming to Cape Canaveral, Florida on November 3rd and 4th. What an honor. Had I said to John Harper back in 2011, when he offered me the show, if I would have said, no, I just don't know how to do it. I don't know. I said yes. And look at all these wonderful teachers that I've learned from. We've learned from, not just me, we've learned from. So go to whenyouneedafriend.com. Please share, like, follow. Also check out my sponsors. Without my sponsors, it would be very difficult to do the classroom. And I want you to support them the way that they're supporting the classroom. Go to the Shop Now bag. We have lots of different Lilly approved products. And I want you to to check them out, see how they work from head to toe, even pain management without taking a pill. Come on, try it out. It's wonderful. It's what I did for a car accident, 4 herniated discs. Why did I get this 4 herniated discs? Because I needed to understand the beauty of Avasia. And this product, I worked with them for 5 years before I bought my own unit. And 3 months later, I was rear-ended and suffered 4 herniated discs. Tell me God isn't in everything that we do. Go to everything in your life. Look back, trace it back. God is everywhere. But you got to look for him. You got to look for him. Oh, there you are. Like Waldo. We'll spend hours looking for Waldo, but not a minute thinking about how God was there. Okay, so check out my Shop Now bag. Also, we have lots of workshops that we've done that you can go back and get at any time that you would like. And then last but not least, you can become an enrolled student in the classroom. For those of you who don't know where to tithe and you're looking for a place to support, I'm not a 501c3 because I don't want to be answering to the government, but you will help the classroom, whether it's a dollar or $1,000 a month or a one-time donation. Every penny is utilized to grow the classroom and increase our visibility so that more people can learn new truths so they can turn and say, you know what? I choose to live the life that I have today. I choose to change this or do that. So I want to encourage you to look at every aspect, even if you don't agree with it, which most of the stuff I didn't agree with, but they've become my truths. I'm completely asthma medication free because of a teacher in the classroom, Andrew Saul, Food Matters. Between commercial breaks, he says, you know, Lily, I can do something about getting you off all your asthma medication. Bring it. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. How many people have come to me prior to that saying to me, oh, you know, you could do this naturally, right? I'm like, right. No, I trust my doctor. Thank you. No. Our doctors have the same diseases that they're treating us for. So if they can't take care of themselves, how can they take care of us? Now, I'm not saying that don't go to a doctor. What I am saying is if you're in a car accident or anything to that effect, they're incredible. Incredible. Trauma, incredible. But when it comes to lifestyle changes, they don't understand that a simple lifestyle change can change your life. So that's what I've learned because I said yes to the call to do this show. And yes to doing whatever it is that is my next step. Yes to public speaking. Yes to being more present to my family. What is your yes? What is the yes? What is keeping you from your yes? So let's talk about that. What is keeping you from your yes? Why would you think that you're not enough or that you're not necessary, that that it's what you do is just a small thing? And it may be a small thing, but without that small thing, without 1 penny and you have 99 cents, you're not $1. So every aspect of our life matters. So how is God calling you today? How is God calling you? Is God calling you to change diabetes in your life? Is God calling you to quit alcohol or drink less or eat less of the things that are harmful and more of the things that promote life? What is God calling you to get a degree or to learn a new trade? What is God calling you to do? Change states, move to a new place, remain in your marriage and work on your marriage, or walk away from your marriage? Adopt a child, have a child. What is God calling you right now? Is God calling you to forgiveness? You know it, and I know it. I know when God calls me. You know it. Now, I might ignore it, which I did for a long time. But you can't outrun God. You can't outgive God. You can't outbless God. So if you're angry with God, which when I do my workshops, the I Am the Solution workshops, not the summit. Summit's coming up, right? Put it down in your calendars, February 3rd. When we get together and do the I Am the Solution workshop, and this is where we spend a whole weekend of rewriting the programming in our brain that says we're not enough, that says that there's nothing we can do. There's nothing we can do to solve this problem. There's nothing we can do to reverse disease. There's nothing we can do to change. There's something we can do. There's something we can do every time. It might be small, it might be big, but it might be what completes the task for somebody else. So be open, be curious, because if you are stuck in resentment and anger, and by the way, 5 minutes of anger, 5 minutes of anger reduces your immune system for 8 hours. How many of us are angry for 5 minutes? I'm not. I could be angry for a little bit longer, right? But I know, and I wonder if you know now, 5 minutes. Okay, let me multiply that by 8 hours. Every hour that I am upset and resentful. Can't be that way. Once you know better, you do better. And once you know that God is at the center of everything you do, how could it fail? Even if the outcome isn't what you think it should look like, God does. God knows exactly what it's going to look like. So part of my commitment, as you know, Dr. Lorraine Day has been a teacher in the classroom since 2013. Once she started doing her Bible study, that was her focus. She needed to do that. Coming on to the classroom or doing other broadcasts, if she wants to do broadcasts, that's up to her, but needs to be focused. We all need to do that. And when she started focusing on what she was doing and there was no time for her to do the class, then I would say that there was a void, because once a month we would talk about God every time with Dr. Day, but it left a void. And because of that void, now you have my commitment to bring more scholars, to bring more people that are doing godly things, that are creating that inspiring tool for us that we can do all things. Are you ready? Are you ready to answer the call? Are you ready to take that next step? And what does that step look like for you? Again, it is different for everybody else. And if you find yourself comparing yourself to your neighbor, comparing your interior to somebody else's exterior in social media, because we look at other people's lives and it looks so glorious. And then you look inside your life and go, oh man, I wish I had their life. Never, ever trade your life for anybody else. Because God is working in you and God is working in them. And don't ever trade your life. Because everything that happens in your life has purpose and meaning. How many times have I said that today? So what are you being called for? So there is a plan. There's a plan for all of us. And I'm excited to share with you that for me, it's going to be freeing me up to have more time to do what I think I'm being called to do. And I'll report from time to time about that. And also, not everybody is available at 12:05 Eastern time. So now we're going to have a little bit more flexibility with our time, and we're going to be able to broadcast the best of the best. And also bring the concept of God more and more. As you know, I'm a Christian woman, but this is a secular show, right? But you bring God everywhere you go, and nothing is secular. Now, I'm not going to force it down your throat, because you get to take that journey on your own. But just like a health crisis, gives you an awareness that there may be other things that you can do other than what you're being told. And you realize that, man, if I would have done this in the past, or if I would have eaten a certain way, or if I would have not smoked, if I would not, instead of all of that, blaming yourself and all those things that we do to sabotage ourselves, if we were to just say, I hear you, God, and now that I know the call, that you are bringing attention, because even, we call it collateral damage. When we think of collateral damage, we think of a crisis, we think of a storm or something that has just devastated us. But there's a movie called Collateral Beauty. There is beauty in everything, even in a crisis. Even if you don't like what is happening at the moment, just wait and listen, because God is taking this ugly wrapping paper and turning it into a gift. But we must go back and look at it. So I know some of you are not going to like not being live. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not going to be live forever. Just for now, during this time, I get to do something else, figure out what it is that God is calling me for, and create space in my life that I can do more and do whatever it is that it is. What that more is, I don't know what it is. Again, don't be married to the outcome. Be excited about the journey. And whatever happens, that's what you get to do. And so I want to remind you once again that we have two opportunities to change our life. We have two opportunities. One opportunity is to change the microbiome with Dr. William Davis. We're going to start August 1st. Every Tuesday night, we have a course with Dr. William Davis, and he's going to guide us. And of course, I'm going to bring the emotional component, because it's amazing how much trapped emotions we have inside of us that keep us from the dreams that we have, the desires that we have, the yeses that we want to say to God, but we can't do it because we just don't know better. So August 1st, we're going to start changing our microbiome so that we can start feeling better. And even if you feel great, this is a great opportunity to cut down our carbs, increase our proteins, increase our healthy foods, no trash foods. So we're going to do this together, and every Tuesday night from 7 to 9. If you're not available that time because you're overseas, or this is a worldwide event, so if you want to be a part of it, and 7 to 9 p.m. Tuesday night is not good for you, don't worry, because we're going to record all the classes and you get to watch it at any time. So that's the good thing. That's the good news. That's August 1st until September 5th. And then the next one is November 3rd and 4th with the body code and emotion code. The emotion code, body code seminar with Dr. Bradley Nelson. This, if you've never heard of Dr. Bradley Nelson, check out some of the classes that we've done with him. But he, a chiropractor, realized very early in his career that when people came to talk to him about, having a pain here, a pain there, whatever it was, that if he sat with his patient long enough, he would discover that there was some trauma, some hurt, whatever, that they were holding on to. And he would be able to eventually learn and teach people worldwide. Like right now, he's probably somewhere in Europe, somewhere teaching wonderful people how to tap into your subconscious mind so you can take away these traumas that are trapped in your body. I love these weekends, and I'm excited to have had the privilege to meet Dr. Bradley Nelson and his beautiful wife, Jean, and we are going to come together in Cape Canaveral, Florida, with wonderful vendors and wonderful teachers and healers that are going to come together to bring the spirit, mind, and body approach. You're going to learn the emotional component as well as the toxins that could be affecting our body, could be causing different things through the app that he created as well. So that's November 2nd and 3rd. So think about different ways that perhaps if you're being called to change your diet, being called to reverse dis-ease naturally, are you being called, whatever it is you're being called, to a closer relationship with your Creator? What are you being called to do? So if I'm being called to something, I know I'm not the only one. I know some of you. So text me at 407-373-5959. Let me know how it is that you're being called today. Let me know what you're willing to do to take your health back, to take your life back, and to take that leap of faith, knowing that God's going to catch you every time. And please remember, I'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. This is Lillian McDermott, wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever.
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before